I'm literally getting ready for graduation right now. It's so unreal. I've legit been so emotional since January. I just got a text from Georgia State, you know, like those welcome to the semester texts that they send all their students, and I literally started crying. I'm trying to talk and do my makeup at the same time. This is gonna be hard, and I literally do not have that much time. But let's get it done. Let's get it done. So 2 years ago, I posted a video about going back to college as an adult, and it's legitimately probably like my most popular video. So in this video, I'm gonna give you all the tea on what it's like going back to school as an adult, going back to college as a grown adult. I love, like, the key to good makeup to me is, this is a side note, key to good makeup to me is like having a big mirror, yes, but having a handheld mirror where you can like literally see everything you're doing. Does it for me every single time, never fails. So in this video, I'm gonna answer some frequently asked questions about going back to school in your late 20s, because y'all were in my DMs, and I love it. The girlies were reaching out for support. I went back to school at 26. I am graduating now at 29. Had previously been in school. And I do want to add that, like, I know everyone's experience is going to be different, but I did want to give some insight into how I personally navigated this whole ordeal, especially as a Black neurodivergent woman. Let's get into these questions, okay? Because like I said, you guys were really in my DMs from that first video that I posted 2 years ago. You really, really were. So the first question is, how do you balance work and school? Honestly, there wasn't much balance. Every semester I was a full-time student with a part-time job. My main focus was school. So much of my energy went. A lot of my relationships suffered. I used a calendar and a planner to stay organized, but like I have ADHD, so I often forgot to go back and like look at the things that I was actually writing down. Being organized, I also found that like leaving the house, just like a general tip, leaving the house to study helped me. Like working inside my house was not happening. I'm not even gonna hold you. Helped me get stuff done. So I would like go to a coffee shop in my neighborhood or like a Starbucks. Also, like when I was in like bigger classes, sitting in the front row in a class and getting to know, especially in all of my classes, getting to know the professor, like making sure that they knew me. For reference, I went back to school to study education. I knew early on before I even went back that I wanted to get into education research. So anyway, my last 2 years, my program was run like a master's program. It was kind of intense. But as I was studying education, part of your last 2 years is doing an internship. And when it comes to balancing work and school, like that made things extra hard. My first 2 years, I was renting a room in a house because I couldn't afford rent in the traditional market.
Remember, I moved to Atlanta in 2016 at 22 without any friends or family.
And I wasn't near family. So it was just like the most affordable, the safest, the most convenient option for me. And then the homeowner was a lady that I knew from church. And she had moved out of state like a couple of months or a year earlier, and she was renting out her house. And she only rented it to like other females. So it was, you know, it was pretty safe for what it was. It was pretty safe. So it was like myself and 2 other girls in that house. But in the last 2 years, like the end of 2021, she called me. It was like the first week of classes. She called me and she was like, I am selling my house, and I had like 2 weeks to get out. So I ended up moving in with a different family from church. That's what I did for living, the housing portion of the balance. But that living situation did end badly. Toward the end of my senior year, like I was so burnt out. The spring semester, well, all senior year was so stressful. I spent my senior year, hold on. They're going off. I spent my senior year in my internship. So in the fall of my senior year, I was interning for 16 hours a week at the school. And then the spring of my senior year, I was interning for 40 hours a week at the school. Y'all, when I tell you I was struggling financially, like barely making any money, I could only work on the weekends consistently, and it was just a lot. Like I was so burnt out, and so that took a toll on my living situation. I don't know how this, my camera stopped recording and I moved my phone to the floor so you guys wouldn't hear that consistent buzzing. I don't know, there wasn't any balance. This relates to balance because I'm telling you that there was no balance. Like I was burnt out, my relationships are being ruined, and I think at the end of the day everything happens for a reason. So like I'm not mad about it, but there really was no balance, truly. Like I couldn't upload content like I wanted to upload content. I love editing, like I love being creative in that way. I had this big grand plan to weekly vlog, daily vlog, and none of it happened. Like none of it. I was so burnt out, and I think it was definitely because of the financial stress. Like that pressure was heavy, baby. It really was. Like I was constantly stressed about how I was gonna make ends meet. That's just with bills, and then like take care of myself. It was just too much. And then living with other people is weird because like I will say this, like I'm not playing when I say I understand why people may want to unalive themselves if they feel like financially pressured and stressed. For real, it's that deep. I get it. Like I never felt to that point really, but there were times where I was probably very close. A lot of the time I just was not having a good time to really work on the balance, because balance to me is like being able to incorporate the things that you love, you know, and recording videos and editing videos is one of the things that I love. But like a lot of the time I just was not having a good time, and like to come on camera and just be fake, like I'm not gonna do that. And plus, like I feel like being on social media, like you really do have to have time to dedicate to it and to like give it your all, and I just didn't have that time or energy. Like I was again so burnt out, and like when I'm burnt out as an autistic person, like it's really burnt out. Like being like taking care of myself, like literally showering and brushing my teeth and brushing my hair like daily, like the daily just essentials that you need to get like to just do to participate in life are hard. Very hard. And it just was like that. There was no balance. That's why your support system, like when you're going through this, has to be strong. I don't care what you're studying, but especially, and there's going to be like financial pressures, your support system, babe, your support system needs to be top tier. If you're gonna need to depend on people through this time, like I had to depend on people to live with, you need to like make sure that they can handle you at your worst. Because like at home, that's where I unmask. Like that's where like I truly like sometimes just want to be like nonverbal and like not talking. And you need to have people in your living environment who like understand that, don't hold it against you, don't judge you, especially if you're neurodivergent. You just need that. That's just requirement. There was no balance. I would get home, my energy would die at the door. Like I would literally cross the threshold into the house. My energy I would just be able to just go comatose. Does anybody else understand like when you just get home and like you're like, I would just go to my room, literally take a nap, wake up around 7, maybe go get some food. Maybe, when I say maybe, I mean maybe. Get up, get ready for bed, and then go to bed, and then wake up and do it all over again. I was not living. I could barely go to church. Me and God, we're locked in, okay? There was no balance. There was no balance. It was a geeked time. Like it was crazy. It really was. So yeah, I guess a piece of advice I'm gonna give is that like if you need to depend on people through this time, you need to make sure you trust them. Like again, like with me, like being autistic and knowing how sacred my like home life is, I've learned that I have to be very wise about who can see me in that mode. Is it worth it? I think that's the biggest question. Is it worth it? Yes, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% it is worth it. It's honestly one of the best decisions I've made, truly. I feel like my trust level in myself, my self-confidence exponentially grew. Like my just all-around perspective of myself, of the world. If you like that sort of thing, then yes, it is absolutely 100% worth it. Absolutely. This hurts. It hurts. It stings. My foot is literally asleep. It hurts so bad. It's like tingly. I hate that. Did I feel old? No, actually I didn't. Like I think I was thinking about my age more than anyone else was thinking about my age. So if that's what you mean, then yes. But like, did other people make me feel old? Occasionally, but not often. Like there was like literally 1 or 2 times I can remember like where they made a slick comment. 1 or 2 times where I can remember, you know, wanting to be like, what do you mean by that? But other than that, not really. Age didn't really seem to matter that much in the grand scheme of things. And I think again that goes back to me being an education major. A lot of people who are in education, they come later in life, or like changing careers, or like, you know, like, so I wasn't even the oldest person in a lot of my classes. There were people older than me, so that was always cool. That's probably why it didn't I didn't feel a type of way. Now, in some aspects, I did feel more mature because there were young people in my cohort for sure. 21, 22, 23, 24-year-old. And in some aspects, I did feel like more mature than them. Like they would say things and I'd be like, what the heck? They'd say or do things and I'd be like, oh yeah, they're young. And this is, especially this piece of advice, I want to like, goes back to balance and, well, kind of, but like, just like your supports and accommodations, especially for my neurodivergent people, seek them out. Like I didn't really seek them out, like the university accommodations, like going to the university disability office. I didn't really use them and I don't really regret it because honestly, like talking to my professors always seemed to be enough. Like I would tell them like what was going on with me, disclose my autism and my ADHD, and they were really understanding. Or like if I just generally told them like life is really hard right now, and so like your professors are there to support you. What I mean by that is like just recently it was just a crazy week and a half really, and I emailed my professor and I was like, I have had a very chaotic week, and I said, as an education major, I'm required to do student teaching, and this week, after a very racially charged conversation at the hands of my former mentor teacher, I had to switch host schools unexpectedly. Then on top of that, at the last minute, I had to find a new place to live. All of these moving pieces took precedence and left me unable to respond to my classmate discussion posts throughout the week like you prefer. I just got to my new place and am about to get started on the responses, but I just wanted to let you know why they'll look the way they look. Because in this class, like, we had to respond to like a part of our weekly homework was responding to 3 classmates' discussion posts. But like in the first week that I did it, I just responded to all 3 of them at the same time. And she wrote a note saying, I prefer you to like work on it throughout the week, basically, at different times throughout the week. I don't know, but that's what kept me from getting a 100, and I'm not gonna let an easy A, slip out of my hands. So I was gonna get in line. So yeah, that's why I emailed her about that. And then she emailed me back and she was like, hi Shquavia, thank you so much for filling me in on your situation. I am so sorry to hear about all of the challenges of last week. Kind regards. I actually didn't end up doing the discussion post because I literally was so exhausted that Sunday after like moving and everything. I took a bath and I laid down to take a nap, which turned into just sleep. So I never got to the discussion post. But one day I was randomly checking my grade and bro, why was there a 100 in the grade book? So I emailed her again and I was like, just wanted to say thank you so much for approving my missing discussion responses, because there was a note from the TA in like the grade book saying like Dr. Spring approved missing discussion post. So I emailed her to thank her. I was like, it was so kind and I truly did not expect it. The past couple of weeks have been so stressful and worry inducing, and as silly as it sounds, seeing that really made me feel like everything is going to be okay. Thanks again. Bro, the drama. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an example of like what I'm talking about. And that's just one example. Like literally, I've had a moment like this with probably every professor I've had, and they were all so chill, so cool. You need to take advantage of that. And if you have, also just like disability, like you can be supported by the disability office at your university or college. Like, don't be afraid to take advantage of those things. That's what they're there for. That whole space is there to support your human development. So take advantage of it. And I think that goes back to like me not regretting it. Maybe that's why I don't regret it, because like it was for me, It was for me and I treated it as such. Ooh. What else do I have to say? Oh, what was my motivation to go back to school? I've always loved school. Always. School's always kind of been like a safe space. Kind of like I've always left Sundays in church. School has been like that kind of love. But if you watch the first video, I left because, well, mental health, just so many different reasons that just kind of combined into one big like, take a step, take a moment, it's okay, But I've always loved school. School has always been pretty dope to me. And education, it makes sense that I'm going to be in education because of how important school has been to me and like formed and shaped me always. But also like I was motivated to live like a much more independent life, if that makes sense. Yeah, I was just motivated. Like, I just felt it was time. Like, my 20s for me, honestly, 20s never made sense to me as a person. So, like, just felt like time. It just felt like time. But also going back to, like, was it worth it? Something about school coupled with life experiences as someone in your late 20s is what makes it so much more, like, I don't know, it just really gave me, like, much more of a global worldview. And I think that's just what college does in general, but I also think just me studying like education really did it too. Education and sociology. I think I'm done. I need to pop on a lash. I'll be right back. Okay, let's go graduate. If you have any other questions that you want me to answer about going back to school in your late 20s, let me know. But other than that, let's go graduate, baby. I'm late.